Hi, I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Texas, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Friday, and Fridays are the days I like to share cards from the catalog. So, if you've watched my channel before, or if you've watched a Friday video before, you know that one of my favorite places to find inspiration is the Stampin' Up catalogs. Sometimes I use the annual catalog, sometimes it's the mini catalog, and during celebration time, I like to look at the celebration brochures. But today I'm doing a card from the mini catalog. I've been wanting to do a navy and silver card for a little while now. So when I saw this card, it says Season's Greetings in the mini catalog. Look at all these tabs. I'm kind of obsessed with this catalog. Okay, so when I saw this card, I thought, how fun would that be to change this gold to silver? So the gold is gorgeous, but I just really wanted to do silver. So, and I had just happened to have this package of silver foil. This is also from the mini catalog. Let me turn my camera around for just a minute. You can see what I'm talking about. So there's 3 different sheets that come in this. There you go. So, ooh, that's actually a pretty good picture of what they look like. It's not perfect, but not bad. So this obviously is the one that I used. I took a sheet of this adhesive sheet. These are 6 inches by 12 inches. So they're perfect to put on one of these half sheets. So I just cut this piece in half, and then I put my adhesive sheet on the back of it. I peeled off, so let me just pull it out and show you what I'm talking about here. Usually I forget to do this step, but I remembered this time. So proud of myself. So this backing is divided into 3 sections. So I pulled off one, and I lined it up against the back here. And I smoothed that down perfectly. So then I pulled off the next section and smoothed that down perfectly. And then I did the final section. And so now my pieces are ready to go. I cut them in by, so they were already 6 inches, and then I cut them 2.5 inches. So they'll fit in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And that's what I'm going to make snowflakes out of. Okay, so I was going to flip the camera around, but I don't think I need to say anything else before we get started. I will tell you this is page 13 of the July to December mini catalog, and this is what the front looks like. And this, like, I have all these tabs, and this doesn't even cover all the amazing stamp sets that are in this catalog. I wish I could buy them all. Oh, woe is me. Okay, so we need a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 inches of cardstock, and I scored it at 4.25 inches. I'm going to use my bone folder to smooth this crease out. There we go. Oh, and I didn't mention, you might have seen it on the catalog when I was showing that, but this is the stamp set we're using. This is the Merry Snowflakes stamp set. We're going to be using the Season's Greetings stamp, and everything else is die cuts. Okay, so this is ready to go. My next piece is 2 inches by 5.75 inches, and I'm going to grab my blending brush and my Night of Navy. So the card in the catalog, they were using Misty Moonlight and gold, but I just have Night of Navy and silver in my head, and I needed to get it out, so that's what's happening on this card. Alright, so I'm just going to add some ink, and I want it darker in the center and lighter on the edges, and I'm using a Stampin' Dimensional, not a Stampin' Dimensional, a sponge dauber on the end of my finger to hold my paper down because I have a tendency to put fingerprints on this stuff whenever I'm doing it. So I'm going to add just a little bit more color in the center here. Just a little on the edges, but not a lot. And that's all that we need. So then this piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and it's going to go on the inside. So I don't need this anymore because I'm just putting a little bit of this knot of navy right here on the corner, not a lot. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my heat tool. Excuse me just a minute while I dry my ink. Okay, so that should be nice and dry. Now I'm gonna get some of that static off the front of this. So if you don't have an embossing buddy like this, you can use a used dryer sheet. That works also. And I'm going to grab my Versamark and my Season's Greetings stamp. Just going to center this up. So can y'all hear my neighbor mowing? They keep going next to my window. I don't know if it's picking up on the microphone or not. Okay, so this is the white Stampin' Emboss powder. If you're looking for it online on my shop or in the catalog, it is part of the Basics embossing powders. The Basics come with clear, white, and black. I like to shake it up a little bit, make sure it's getting coated really good. And now I'm going to use that heat tool again and go ahead and set this embossing powder. Be careful that you don't burn your fingers. These things get really hot. That looks good. There we go. So you might look at that and think it's crooked. I look at it and think it's at a jaunty angle. Isn't that fun? Okay, so let's set all of this to the side because we're finished with it, and I'm going to get out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. My mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I love my big one, but it doesn't fit very well on my desk. So anytime I can use my little one on my desk, I go for it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab this piece that I used the other day. And this first die cut, we're going to need 2 of these because we're going to put one on the inside. So we need one for the front and one on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and cut one of them out right now. I keep my larger Stampin' Cut. Oh, that didn't cut. That's a new problem. Okay, I'm going to use this is Post-it labeling and cover-up tape. I'm going to put some of this right here on my, you know why it didn't cut? Look at this. I have it upside down. So to actually make a cut in your paper, turn it the other way. But now I want it to cut right where I made that impression. So I'm going to use this tape and tape this down. and run it through, and this time it's going to cut and it's going to be beautiful. There we go. It is beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to get another piece of this. I remember all of this already has adhesive on the back. I think that stuff is genius. So I'm going to cut another one of those. I'm going to cut this one. So basically I'm cutting one more of everything. So this is the only one that gets two. And then one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, and one of these. I'm not using this one here. And these that have two pieces, y'all, it took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out how these work. So you put these in one in the other one. This one just embosses and this one cuts. And I put this Post-it tape on the back because I don't want it to move while it's cutting. The first time I cut this kind of got at a little wonky angle. And it was okay. I covered most of the snowflake up anyway with other things, but I still want it as centered as possible. So I just used this tape. You can use washi tape to hold it still. And then I did the same thing with this other one here. So just hold it still. This isn't gonna, it's not gonna stick. It's gonna be great. Well, it is gonna stick, but it's not gonna stick to your fancy paper that you're using. So my big embossing machine I have on a counter. So I'm at a better angle to get things going. When I'm sitting down, it's a little bit harder to get this moving, even though it's the small one. Go figure. Okay, so all of those are ready to be pulled out. And make sure, so this backing is wanting to come off of the adhesive, so be careful that you don't lose that in your, while you're pulling everything off. Okay, so I'm going to grab this other sheet and these other three snowflakes. Then I'm just going to run these through again. And I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to poke all of these snowflakes out and get the centers out of some of them. And I'm not going to talk while I'm doing that. That way I can speed the video up and you don't have to watch all the little tedious bits take forever. Okay, so now let's start peeling the backs off of these and get them placed on the card. I'm gonna grab my Take Your Pick tool again. This is just so handy to get this backing started. So I'm gonna be really careful. The insides of these are all wanting to come out with the backing. And that's okay. If they do come out, we'll just put them back into place in a minute. And you could also, if you don't want to put all these back in, then you could just leave them out. And you can leave some of them out and put some of them in because snowflakes are all different. Okay, and do you see how the edges of this keep wanting to come up? That's fine. Just keep pushing them back down, and then eventually they'll get the idea that they're supposed to stay down, and they'll stop bouncing back up. Okay, there we go. That's all of the snowflakes for the front. And then, before we get started on the next step, I wanted to show you all of these pieces that are left over. Aren't those pretty? So I would save those, maybe put them in a small little dish on your desk, because these would be fun elements to add, to scatter around to the card, around the card. So I'm going to be putting rhinestones on this. Here's another piece. I just think that those are really pretty and too pretty to throw away. Okay, but if you don't have rhinestones, you could use those centers even on this card. And if you are doing it with gold, the mini catalog, that card used wonderful gems, so you could use those with the gold. All right, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it, just to pull it up off of the front of the card a little bit. And I'm going to not get too close to the edge with my dimensionals here on the ends, because I'm going to be trimming some of these ends off. I made this wider than the card on purpose, so that we can take it and put this bottom corner over here on the edge, and then I'm going to put this top corner on this other edge up here at the top, so that it's slanted across the front of the card. So now I'm going to take my paper snips and cut off this extra bit. I'm turning it upside down so I can see where I'm cutting. And I'm just using the edge of the card as my guide. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to get those rhinestones that I was talking about. These are just basic rhinestones. I'm going to put one down here. Gonna kind of hide one where it's peeking out from underneath. I'm gonna put one up here. And I'm gonna put one more down here in the corner. And then that's the front of our card. What do you think? So here is our silver and not of navy card. And then here is the gold and misty moonlight card from the catalog. So which one do you like better? The gold or the silver? Okay, so for the inside, where is that snowflake? We're going to get this other snowflake. I'm going to go ahead and use my liquid adhesive, my liquid glue, and glue this inside piece down first. Really, you could do it either way. I'm going to go ahead and get this placed in here. Then I'm going to take the backing off of the snowflake. Put those to the side. Then I'm going to place this little snowflake where it's hanging off the edge a little bit, still inside the card, but hanging off of this white piece. There we go. And you know what? I think I'm going to add that dot back to the center. If I can get it. There we go. Yep, that looks better. Okay, what do you think of our finished card? If there is a card out of any of the catalogs that you would like to see, as long as they're current, just let me know, and I will do my best to create that card, or at least my version of that card for you on a video, so that you can get an idea of how you can do it yourself. I'll leave a link so that you can comment to me. Or you can just leave a comment on the video. That's fine too. I love it whenever people comment or give me a thumbs up, or even subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down there if you like my videos, so that you're notified every time I post a new one. And if you like my videos, head on over to my Facebook page. I go live on my Facebook page once a week on Thursdays at 3:30 in the afternoon. That's Central Time. So I would love to see you over there. I hope you're having a great day and that your weekend is wonderful. Happy stamping.